Hello, and welcome to Anime Audio Commentary. Today I'll be commenting on episode 16 of Code Geass R2. If you'd like to watch along, then start watching now. So last we left off, it seems that it was the third in a series of just absolutely bombshell episodes. So Lelouch confronted the Emperor, discovered that he is immortal, and also discovered a bit more about the plot that's going on, the conspiracy as it were. And in the process, C2 has been rendered amnesiac, so Lelouch doesn't have much of anyone to really support him who knows the entirety of what's going on. Alright, so now that Lelouch is effectively on his own, I'm wondering how he's going to handle things. Although, I guess in the realm of Britannia, it seems as though the Emperor has decided to just not crop up again, which that's an interesting choice. I feel like if he's immortal, he wouldn't really have to worry about anything. I mean, obviously Lelouch remains a concern to him, but not in an immediate life-threatening sort of way. But back to Lelouch, he's got problems, The Emperor is far less mortal than he initially believed, meaning that killing him is kind of out of the question for now. And, he knows a little bit more about that contract between him and C2, which poses a problem. Made even worse by the fact that now she doesn't really remember any of the previous however many 100 years. I mean, Lelouch doesn't seem tremendously bothered as of right yet, Understandably, he is just sort of happy that the Emperor is missing and Nunnally is kind of relatively safe for now. Oh. Okay, so... This is very interesting indeed. If C2 truly doesn't remember anything since before she got her Geass, that means she's effectively like a medieval peasant girl, and I guess it's a good thing it was a flippant remark on Lelouch's part to say, hey, wear your clothes inside out and dance on one foot. It's good he wasn't serious, because that's kind of a cruel thing to do with someone who doesn't know much better. Alright, so good old Jeremiah being loyal, he was told to kill, but he could not bring himself to kill Cornelia, so he just took her hostage instead. And that's kind of good, I guess. I like Cornelia, I'm glad she's around. Although the question here I'm wondering is, will she side with Lelouch? Because, he's basically spilling that his entire motive is protecting Nunnally. He wants to ensure her safety. So, seeing as how Cornelia was not able to protect Euphemia, would she be willing to side with Lelouch, to sort of make up for what she couldn't do? Now back with Callan, she's been imprisoned, but wow, she's having a rough go of things. Last we left off with her, she was very nearly dosed with Refrain. That lovely little narcotic, but she's prepared to die, it seems. I mean, she's not going to get her wish, it seems like. I'm wondering how she's going to fit into things, because she was taken hostage 3 or 4 episodes ago and hasn't really done much since. Which is unfortunate, because as far as love interests go for Lelouch, insofar as that's really important, she's like the only one who's still alive and capable, because C2 is just kind of out of it. Now, this is interesting. It seems like the Black Knights and their associated allies, the idea here is that they're hoping for a decisive victory. If they can free Area 11, then all of the other world powers that are undecided on the conflict will naturally flock to the banner of the winners. And that's kind of the way things always go. A lot of nations who aren't like players on the world stage, they'll just kind of wait and see what happens, and then buddy up with whoever's seemingly the winner. And you can't really fault them for it, that's just how things work. But it is interesting that Lelouch is essentially staking everything on this one conflict, because if this goes south, then, the reverse is true, right? Everyone will ally themselves against him. And that's no good either. Now, unfortunately, it seems like C2's having a real rough go of things. Oh, but, things are looking up now. He's introducing her to pizza. So, everything's good once more. She was sort of disturbed by the television, the magical talking box with people in it, but, I feel like in a weird sort of way, if anything could possibly transcend her amnesia, it would be pizza, right? I mean, she certainly seems intrigued by it in the way you'd imagine a medieval peasant girl would be. Like, clearly it seems to be food of some sort, but it's unfamiliar, but... oh boy. So yeah, love of pizza rekindled. We're so back. Oh, jeez. It's like, oh, whoops, sorry. I forgot you didn't know about the television. Didn't mean to turn it off and scare you. That's, man. C2's gonna have to have, a crash course in here's what you've missed out on. This is what modern technology is these days. It's like, yeah, you remember the Gutenberg press? Well, check this out. It's a computer. Ooh. So this is interesting that the Knights of the Round here are sharing information that they have memories that conflict with written data. So the idea here is that they're sort of becoming kind of aware of the Emperor's Geass and all that. But I feel like this is kind of a dangerous thing to start talking about, And now people are sort of suggesting that Suzaku might be a traitor. They could be kind of right in a sense, but I feel like for various Knights of the Round to start challenging each other and impugning each other's honor, I don't know. I feel like things could swiftly get out of hand and... okay. Yeah, so the real big numbers here are stepping in and saying, hey, knock it off, guys. Okay, so it's not just an incidental breaking up of an argument, it's they're preparing for actual war, which is understandable, I suppose. Knowing Lelouch, he would probably want to decapitate as much of the Britannian Empire as possible if the opportunity arose. Okay. Alright, so Kellen was almost about to talk about her brother. That's kind of an interesting topic that hasn't really come up in ages, because he was like a proto-Black Knight freedom fighter who, as far as I understand it, died for the cause, and that's sort of what so radicalized Kellen. And I don't want to call it an open thread necessarily, but it's something that's sort of like stuck in my mind that I imagine we'd have to revisit it at some point, you know? So this Knight of Ten guy, like, he seems to be rather scrupulous, you know? I don't really like the cut of his jib, and I feel like he's either going to cause problems or die messily. And either way, I think it'll be rather entertaining. Although it would be nice if Lelouch, like, squashed him or something like that. Ooh, that's a familiar name right there. The Lancelot. So, given that Nina is talking about outfitting the Lancelot with a weapon, I can only imagine it's some sort of nuclear warhead. Oh. Is Nina seriously getting Suzaku to deploy a nuclear weapon against the 11s? Like, this is being suggested without irony. Oh. I mean, surely Suzaku wouldn't nuke Japan, right? Like, I mean, if there's one person I would confidently say would not press the little red button, it would be Suzaku. But the sort of flippancy with which nuclear weapons are being attached to nightmare frames disconcerts me. You know, I think I know enough about Code Geass at this point to understand that something's probably gonna get nuked, and not for the best. You know, maybe we're not having, like, Euphemia going berserk to Electric Boogaloo, but, oh, man. I wouldn't be surprised if Suzaku got himself into a situation where that little Geass, telling him to live, compelled him to launch the weapon. Oh, man, that would be horrible. Because, I mean, like, he's violated, like, military orders to the point where they were, arresting him and court-martialing him. Like, he'll do anything to live so long as it presents the chance of survival. Yeah, I guess it's very unfortunate that Nina and the other powers that be don't really know he's under the effects of that Geass. Or at the very least, don't care, you know? Oh, man. I guess maybe not good news, but Lord Jeremiah can cancel out Geass's. Hopefully. Well, maybe not even hopefully. I mean, he could get involved and cancel out the Geass. But at the same time, that would sort of open up Suzaku to die, you know. Not like that's not an option as things stand, but Suzaku seems far more willing to sacrifice himself than the average person, were it not for the Geass impeding him. Ooh, Pizza Hut detected, there we go. Unfortunately, it's just Revels, the poor guy. Like, I mean, he's all alone. Like, it's a sad day when you're by yourself eating Pizza Hut, you know? Especially when all your friends are off doing God knows what. Oh, okay, so they're continuing with this little farce. The United States Charter of 47 independent states. That makes the name better. It's a little less silly than the United State of Japan, but I feel like they should have just torn the Band-Aid off and called it the Constitution, you know? Ooh. So I guess the Britannian Empire has pegged the important issue here. Despite being ostensibly united, they're not, a cohesive military unit. They are effectively 47 separate militaries working together. And because of that, the chain of command might be a little complex and hard to follow. So I guess they've sort of sidestepped the Britannian Empire by saying, essentially, the Order of the Black Knights are now the military. And, yeah, I guess that's a neat little way to put Lelouch in power without putting him in power, Like, he's not the president, as it were, but he's essentially the supreme military leader. So, they're sort of saying that, like, the idea is that there's a council in charge here, but I feel like that's not going to be the case practically speaking. I mean, sure, the council is essentially, calling in a vote like, will we dispatch the Black Knights to defend our interests? And they're saying, yeah, let's go do it, but I don't know. I feel like, in the balance of things, Lelouch is really the one in charge here, Because, like, a lot of those people, they're people we've never seen before, so I feel like they're ripe for Geassing, And really, it only takes a little Geass of, you'll obey me from now on. Like, that's all it takes, right? Ooh. So it's interesting that the Emperor has decided to crop up now. And, not even, like, telling his family and his empire that he's alright. He's just sort of hacking into the feed. Which, I question the wisdom of that. Ooh. Man, the Emperor says the EU is beyond hope. It's kind of ripped from the headlines, isn't it? Well, at least he's sort of neatly outlining the stakes here. Whoever wins this war, it's a zero-sum game. Whoever wins dominion of the world. And, when you get down to something like that, where the entirety of everything is on the stake, it makes nuclear weapons seem a lot more attractive rather than something you should never use, And while I hope that pressure doesn't weigh on Suzaku, I get the feeling that maybe it will if the Emperor commands it. I mean, I should hope not, but I don't know, it really is hard to say. So unfortunately, Lelouch seems to be kind of compromised here. At the moment, his main concern is saving Nunnally, which is laudable, but, like, I feel like the best way to save her is to, end this war quickly and decisively, I mean, maybe Lelouch isn't even considering the possibility of nuclear weapons. Like, I don't think I would, in his position, seriously consider nuclear weapons being launched, but I don't know. Like, if warheads start flying, like, it really is over. There's nowhere safe for Nunnally on the planet. Maybe that was a little uncalled for on Lelouch's part. You can't just say, no, I don't want any pizza. I appreciate you saving it for me, but, man. So I guess this is, C2's peasant origins coming out here. It's like, okay, yeah, like, you backhanded me and smashed the plate over my face, but, like, that's surprisingly nice compared to what most people do. Like, that's pretty grim, Not a good life to live. And at least, Lelouch recognized that, like, whoops, I sort of acted in anger. I probably shouldn't have done that. Man. So I guess maybe, romantically speaking, C2 is back on the table. Who knows? You know, it certainly doesn't help that she's saying stuff like, man, I wish I had a friend. That would be really nice. Although, I get the feeling this is heading in places, you know, further down the road than mere friendship. It is also telling that this is before she got her initial Geass. The Geass that made people love her unconditionally. So, I guess it makes sense that such a Geass would come to her in the end, but in an almost sort of unconscious way, she's working that same thing on Lelouch, because, like, you know, I could imagine in that position having my heartstrings tugged at, you know? Ooh. So Suzaku's just asking the question outright, like, hey, are you Zero? And, man, Lelouch just admits to it. Maybe that was not the smart move, but I guess he's impressing upon Suzaku that he needs to be the one to save Nunnally. And, you know, he's not exactly telling a lie here that, like, look, please, you're the only one who can help, you have to save Nunnally, that's why I was forced to act as I have. Yeah, I guess he really is banking on Suzaku's better nature to save the innocent Nunnally. I mean, he's not exactly bargaining from a great position here, but I guess it seems to have worked. Ooh. So I feel like this is obviously a trap, you know? Like, Lelouch will be captured. That's the intention, but for Nunnally, he's got to do it, right? Alright, well that's it for this episode. If you've enjoyed it, then by all means, tune in for the next one. See you, Space Cowboy.